and a bench there. Good morning. Hope everyone had a great weekend and is having a great day. And for those of you in the US and Canada, happy Labor Day. Hopefully you managed to get the day off. And for those of you who are out working today on Labor Day, thank you for doing that. That is awesome of you. And you should probably get paid more. And I am digging through my soldering iron tips because I forgot to warm up the iron before we started, and I'm going to use it. So, as you can see, today we have a banana. So this is I don't know why I had this still out here. This is a 3D printed keyboard, you could call it. It is about the size of a banana. Someone mentioned I should have an actual banana next to it for scale. And that would have been a fantastic idea had I thought about it before, 4 minutes into the stream. So, apologies, I don't have an actual banana for scale with this. But suffice to say that it is a appropriately sized banana. There are a couple things, like the first time I saw this keyboard, I was like, I have to have it. I think it was actually someone mentioned it in chat. So thank you for whoever had the suggestion. So this is a post, or this comes from a post, or was featured on a post on Hackaday. It's just a 3D printed banana macropad. Like, what more is there really to say? It's got holes here for screws and heatset inserts, so you can actually attach it together. It's designed for use with a Pro Micro footprint, so if you put a Pro Micro in here, it actually snaps nicely into place. However, that's a waste of a Pro Micro, and then I can't run ZMK on it. So we're gonna run Arduino Shao, because it has plenty of pins for this use. And then I get to run ZMK on it. So I spent the last couple of nights messing around with ZMK, trying to get the firmware to work on this. I got it to build, but it doesn't work. And I'm not sure why. Like, it flashes fine, it seems like it. But it doesn't work. I don't know. I need to play around with it more, so sadly not going to have an actual functioning banana macropad today, or even really fully assembled because I don't have my heat sets yet. But it will be wired up and ready to be fully assembled. And then used. So hopefully by Wednesday, well, my heat sets probably won't come in by stream time on Wednesday either, because they're coming in on my Amazon day or whatever. So I don't know. It'll be next week when it's fully functional, but I'll let everyone know when that happens. One thing I love about this, no, one thing I don't love about this is where the wire or the cable comes in. So you actually, and I don't have the right cable for this right now, but that's fine. You actually plug it in here. And I think that'd be so much better if it was like here. So, you can't stuff the whole controller into the stem up here. But what you can do is something like put the controller sideways this way, and either just bring the whole cable in here and kind of permanently attach it, which would be totally fine by me because it's a $2 cable, or have a little extender thing to put a port here or something, or have it dangling off. Not going to do that on this build, but I do want to fix that problem at some point, which is good because that'll get me to do a little bit of CAD stuff. Go find the original CAD files for this and or just make a new one if I can't find the original files. But then piece it together. So this I 3D printed myself. I started printing it on Saturday. The top part finished successfully. I took all the supports. It looks kind of gnarly, but that's okay because it's underneath. And then printed the bottom part later that day. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what else there really is to say about it other than it's pretty awesome and memey and things. Well, I could do an Arduino sketch as firmware, but I want to do it as proper ZMK. Yeah, and I'm close. I think I just have the wrong pins or something. I don't know. I just need to dig into it a little bit more. I'm gonna look into... So, the only other ZMK Arduino Shao board that I am aware of is the Hummingbird, and Pete did the firmware for that. The main difference between the Hummingbird and this in terms of ZMK firmware is that's a matrix, whereas this is direct wired. But I could easily turn this into a matrix by just taking the wire that I put into ground and putting it on not ground, putting it on an actual I/O pin, and just use that as a row, and then the rest is columns, or column and rows. I don't know, whatever it needs to be. But I'm not super concerned about that, so I'm not going to do that. Oh wait, but I would need diodes, wouldn't I? No, because they're all on different... I don't know. I don't remember when you need diodes for matrix layout. But anyways. So, yeah, 1x8 matrix, basically. Yeah. So, you might remember from the last time I did a hand wire build, the wiring that I had was a disaster. It's a pain in the ass to trim. It was stranded, so I had to twist it and all this stuff. This is 30 gauge solid wire. It came in this roll with 8 colors, and it's solid wire. It's just, what more is there to say about it? I don't know. So I'm gonna use that. I was going to use the little single switch PCB things that I have, but they need a diode to work, and bridging across that diode, or kind of like using the inner pad of the diode instead of the output of the switch, didn't look like it was going to be fun to try, and I didn't feel like figuring out which direction the diodes actually need to go in on that board, because then there might be implications with firmware, and I'm already having trouble with firmware, so we're just gonna go straight up hand wire. It's fine. I've got better wire this time. Should go pretty smooth. Knock on. And yeah. Yeah, the Ginny and the Launchpad both have diodes. Which didn't register to me when I first started building the Launchpad as completely unnecessary. And the Ginny, I didn't build that. That was a ready board. Came directly from Germ, fully assembled. So I didn't think about that one either. But solid core, yeah. Well, I mean, you can bridge it with bits of wire, but it's not. It's just a surface mount pad. There's no through-hole pad, and I hate trying to solder a piece of wire to a surface mount pad, especially when I have to solder the other end of it, because we're just gonna get better at total hand wire. It'll be fine. So for the switches, what I'm gonna use is, since I have so many of these things, Gonna use some box jades. Why not? And I did select or pick a selection of switches or caps for the board. So we have caps. Genie has a 2x9 matrix, but there's only 10 keys. And is it actually a full 2x9 matrix? Because one side is an I/O expander, isn't it? Yeah, inebriated CAD. Is there a Balmer peak for CAD as well as programming? Where you have a certain amount of alcohol in your system and you're actually better, but it tapers off very quickly after a certain point? Green bananas are unripe. Yeah. I don't have any yellow switches though. I had some, but they weren't mine. I had Gatoron yellows, I think. Two of the Kyria builds that I did for Split KB were Gatoron yellows, I think. But see, we're going to be hiding the green with black. So it's just like ripe on top, completely unripe on the bottom. Perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire up the ground first. And I'm just going to do a single wire that goes across all of them. And this is another reason you'll have solid wire, because I can strip it with my teeth. And don't worry, both of my dentist kids have already gone through college, so in large part because of me. Oh, that's so much better. Can I just wrap this on here too and just solder right through the jacket? Oh, and I should put this underneath. He has its own road, shares a call. That's one way to do it. I have a feeling that was an early germ project. Or, like Mini USB, she has a really, really strong opinion and did it that way on purpose. And you're just wrong for not thinking that she's brilliant. Which, you're wrong if you don't think germ is brilliant, but I could, you know, if you're not a fan of Mini USB, you can disagree with aspects of things without disagreeing with the whole. Of course, you can't tell US politicians that. Silicone wire can't really solder through it. Oh yeah, because it's heat sensitive or heat resistant. That's a good point. Let's see. If only I had like 300 feet of wire to work with to... No, it goes through it. Yep, that'll work. Oof. Definitely need the fan on though. Okay. Little coffee. Little solder. Where's my solder? There it is. Oh yeah, I can't hear music again today. I think I need to reboot the Mac. But that takes a minute. And I didn't want to delay the stream anymore, so I was like, whatever. It's fine. If I really, really badly need music, I can just listen to it on my phone. And listen to different music than y'all are listening to. There we go. Okay. Oh, also something I have, which hopefully will finish. Yeah, it should finish by the end of the stream. Is if you watched on Saturday, my glorious attempt at designing my own keyboard, you'll know that I successfully designed the best keyboard. And that is printing right now as we speak. Over, under, over, under. Well, I'm trying to keep it so they go under always. So that when I pull on it, it wants to bias it toward down. The diodes from AliExpress, I wouldn't, if you're in a hurry for diodes, or hurry for anything, don't order from AliExpress. You're looking at least a couple weeks. Because it's gonna probably take the slow boat too. I mean, really, they're getting soldered on, so it doesn't matter that much how they go on there. I am much more concerned about, are these actually getting electrical contact? Am I heating up the plastic enough to get through the coating? You can definitely find diodes on Amazon. You just, you're going to pay a little more than you would on Ali. And by a little, I mean like 10 times as much. But we're still talking about 100 for 10 bucks. But when you can get 1,000 for 10 bucks, if you just wait a little bit. If only Tom were here, he could tell me how to do this, because this has to be very similar to stitching. So here's kind of how I think about it. Amazon is if you're in a hurry. Ali is if you're cheap. Yeah, Tom sews bodies. Yeah, I that's the thing I'm wondering if they share, if these are supposed to be share VCC instead of ground. But the one, my what is it? Bread kitchen or kitchen bread or whatever, the breadboard keyboard that I made in ZMK uses you bridge it to ground and works that way. So I just did that plus a bunch. Or times a bunch rather. But that might be a difference in controller because that was on a nice Nano and this is a Arduino Xiao, so who knows. I was working on that part late last night and didn't feel like pinging Pete. So I didn't ping Pete. Yeah, I would definitely not say that Amazon is in any way more reliable than Ali in terms of, like, am I getting fraudulent parts? But, you know, if they work. But I feel like what a lot of people do on Amazon is they buy, like, say 10,000 of a component or 100,000 of a component and sell them in 100 pieces. Because you only have to sell 10% of them to make your money back. Eternally wireless banana. Oh yeah, there's tons of room in here for battery. You would want to, like, because, like, let's see. So you've got your 301 230 here. You could stuff it in here. If you put it on the side opposite the switch pins, no problem. You just want to make sure that you're not going to puncture the battery with the switch pins, but that's easy enough. Or you got a whole bunch of room down here if you get rid of this hole or move it or something. There's tons of room all over this thing for wireless. I just, you know, Something about building a wireless 8-key macropad. Spending $20 on the controller itself. I don't really want to do that. Yeah, and that industry of sellers who are, you know, selling at a 10-20% markup, if they're adding stuff, if they're adding value, like if ordering from somewhere on Amazon means I get even 100% markup or 1,000% markup, you know, if I need 100 diodes tomorrow, I'm not going to care if it's $8 for 100 or 80 cents for 100. I'm going to get the $8 for 100. So it'll be here tomorrow. There kind of is a tool like that. Octopart. So you just put part numbers in and it'll tell you stuff, I guess. I don't know, I haven't actually used it. But I want to use it because I want to get some components for my Torn and some components for my NRF micros that I have. See if I can put that together at some point. Okay. So I'm actually going to just clip this off right here. Because what I'll do is I'll wire up the ground to one of these inner switches when I get there. So it goes like this. So it needs to go down like that. I'm going to use the bottom 4 on each side. Because the top 3 on the right side here, that's VCC ground and 5 volt. Or 3V3 ground and 5 volt, I should say. So these are your GPIO pins. On this side, it's all GPIO pins, but for consistency, I'm going to use the bottom 4 on each side. So I want to go top to the outer, second, third, fourth. Okay. And there's only eight colors. One of those is black, so I'm going to reuse some colors, but that's okay. It's not even so much better warehousing. A lot of them just have it shipped to Amazon and then do the fulfilled by Amazon thing, and they can still turn a huge profit. They're basically just drop shipping it from Ali to Amazon, and then Amazon to you, and printing money. Which, hey, you know? It gets the job done. I don't mind it. If you're trying to pass it off as something that it isn't, though, that's where it's a problem. Oh, sure. But that's all factored into their prices and stuff. I mean, if I personally could figure out a thing that I could drop ship to Amazon, have them drop ship to customers, and all I have to do is plunk down my credit card every couple of months to reorder more, I would probably do it. 0 effort. The effort is all in finding the thing that people need or want. Oh yeah, it's definitely not risk-free, but the risk... Yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest risk there is that you can't sell the products, and it's too expensive to ship it all to you, and then you still have to dispose of it, but... If we're talking about 100,000 diodes, those are just going in my dumpster, which is bad. Mm. So I'm building a keyboard for someone locally here in Portland, and they are gonna make me some, or they're gonna roast me some coffee, which I'm excited about. It's not a direct trade. I don't even know if it's a trade at all. They just said that, hey, yeah, I'll roast you. I'll bring some when when we meet up. Okay, I'm gonna give myself just a tiny little bit of extra slack here to make it so it's not too crowded. And so when it's locked in there, yeah, let me just do a little bit more here. Oh yeah, I imagine it's really crowded because, like I said, like, in so many ways, it's kind of free money if you find the right thing. And so everyone else has the same idea. And the next thing you know, you've got tons of people. One of the things people don't like about Amazon Basics products is because that's Amazon going like, huh, that's something we could just make really cheap and sell ourselves. There's no patents or royalties or licensing or anything like that. You want a laptop stand? Great, here you go, Amazon Basics laptop stand. Half the price of the, you know, expensive one that you bought last week. Looks almost identical. And so then they're undercutting their own clients, basically. But at the same time, it's like, well, does that laptop stand need to be $50? I mean, if I just want a cheap USB battery, it doesn't need to be fancy. Amazon Basics, sure. Let's go for it. Well, I mean, it sounds like a great deal, but I'm really picky about coffee. So if it's bad coffee, I could be really sad about it. I'm gonna put this over here before I break it. Okay, let's go with red. And he also just said some. Like, I don't know if he's talking about, like, here's a 10-pound bag, or, like, you know, here's a sampler pack of beans. That I roasted this morning. Oh, you know what I should do? I should put the wires in for the other side here. That'll help me with length measurement. Yeah, it was really cool to watch it get printed. Oops. Oh, okay. No, it was soldered on. Or I thought it was anyways. Okay. Well, let me strip the other end first. There we go. Okay. Oh, hey. The Abomination has finished printing. I have to wait for the bed to cool down so I can get it to come off of there. Once that's done, or rather, hopefully I'll be done with this by that time. And then we can go check that out. Well, I could just fold this over here. Yeah, there we go. Okay. The Abomination I made on Saturday. My first attempt at designing my own board. It's wonderful. I say the Abomination, but that's just a term of endearment for it. It's in fact a really wonderful keyboard and is probably my end game. And really, it should be end game for everyone. Like, you're gonna watch history happen as I launch my new keyboard that's gonna take over the world. Pretty soon, I've already in talks with major manufacturers and distributors. Okay, so red. Oh no, red is not done because we got red on the other side. I am not going to build the... Well, no, I take that back. I am not... It's not going to be a permanent fixture board. I'm going to use it as a template for my portable hand wire setup and then rip all the stuff out of it. So it will function. At least one half of it will function at some point. Probably not today, because I don't think I'm going to get that far today. But it will be functional. Briefly. Before I smash it on the ground. And actually, I may have lost the STL files for it. I can't find them. So the only thing I have right now for it is the G code for this specific printer. So it's super exclusive. You have to have a very specific printer. What's that on my shirt? It says, well, let's see if I can do this. My precious, different creature. It's a shirt from one of my favorite comics, Strange Planet. Oh, what is this caught on now? Yeah, this 30 gauge is doing a good job. I think 28 gauge might be a little easier, but I wouldn't want to go much bigger. 26. I mean, hell, really, for hand wiring, 24 is probably fine. The reason I wanted very light or small gauge wire is because I use this for bodge wires too. And I find that's a lot easier to bodge a trace on a PCB with 30 gauge wire than with like 4 gauge wire. 4 gauge is a little on the big side. I mean, maybe if I peel the strands off, but yep. They also have art. So I have on the wall in my dining room, I have the one that says "I found this," and it's a cat. And they're like, "What does it excel at?" Or no, "I found this. It's vibrating. What does it excel at?" Scratching and hiding. And then the last frame is an ideal companion. And it's a cat. Because all of those things are true about cats. Just checking for fit here. I'm actually not going to solder those. I realized when I was putting the red one on that side that I don't need to solder them all right away. Oh, that makes sense. I didn't think about trying to stuff it into the case. Ugh. This wire is such a pain to strip. There. Okay, so put that there. I also like that the entire wire, including the case, goes through the PCB here. That lets me size this a lot more easily. So just shove the wire through, leave a little excess, clip it off, strip it. There we go. All right, last one. Do we want blue, yellow, or green? This is brown, but it's, I think, a little too close. Oh no, okay. Blue, yellow, green, or brown? While y'all decide, I'm gonna drink some coffee. Well, so the controller goes in the other half of the board. So it's got to fit so that it can stretch a little bit. This is a 30 gauge solid wire. Just whatever random stuff I found on the internet. I mean, I guess I could open it the other direction. No. Well, yeah. But it's still, I mean, it's, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in here. And since this was made for a Pro Micro, it doesn't fit perfectly in here. And I can put a magnetic connector on the other side and it'll make it fit a little better. Like it won't at least come out. But I want it to stick better. So what I think I'm going to do is put a little dab of hot glue right here on top of the USB port between this little shelf and the USB port. And then a little bit back here just to try to like wedge it up against there. See, this is where points would be really fun to have. Because y'all could spend points to vote on colors. But I agree, blue is the wire to use. Blue is probably my favorite color. What? Oh, double-sided tape? No. The problem is that there isn't very much, like I already had to shave because this was meant for a Pro Micro, it was meant for a micro USB port. I already had to shave some of the plastic out, the material out of the port hole to get that in there. So if I put double-sided tape under the controller, that will make it too tall. I guess I could put a piece behind it. I guess. I mean, it would work. I don't know if that really gives me any advantage, but yeah. I also have to be a little bit careful because, you know, it's not meant to be super tall on top of the controller. Because the Pro Micro just snaps in. Yeah, I mean, the ideal thing would be either appropriate insert or modify the whole thing entirely to be a appropriately sized thing. I didn't even think about the USB port thing until I had it in my hand, and I didn't think about the Arduino being shorter part until I had it in my hand. So, you know, this more than likely will not be the only banana pad I make, because I do want to do one that has the port coming out the end here, and it'll probably just be an integrated, effectively just an integrated cable. Like, I'll just bring, you know, just route the wire in here so that it plugs in on the inside and there's just a cable sticking out. Because I think that's the correct routing or correct way to route that USB cable. So I could probably use double stick tape if I had any that was very thin. All the double stick tape I have is like 1 millimeter thick or something. It's huge. Because I use it for taping like my USB hub and stuff to my desk so it doesn't move around. You get 11, I believe, 10 or 11. There's something about 2 pins can't be used at the same time. I don't know what that means. But there are 11 GPIO pins on here. I'm gonna try this. I read about this hack the other day. You know, something where you loop the solder around your finger, and then you can hold the piece and the solder and move the solder in place at the same time. But I don't think my I don't think my left hand is dexterous enough for that. My left hand is kind of stupid. There are a bunch of modeling clay. Modeling clay would work. Again, the problem there is opening it back up when you're done. Should you ever need to or want to, which I guess I probably don't. Or won't. But famous last words. I thought I was done on my hunt for switches when I got to my glorious pandas, and I haven't used them in 8 months. Well, okay, I take that back. I have used glorious pandas in the last 8 months. I haven't used that Kyria that I soldered my glorious pandas into in 8 months. I had them in a different board in my... They were the original switches I had in my Revion 41. And they were so nice in there. Oh. Yeah, and I would honestly go with Expander. Because this has really easy I2C access, and ZMK I think works out of the box with expanders. I don't remember. Maybe it doesn't. But this has onboard I2C, so it's pretty easy to add that. Although, if I was going to do that, what I would do is I wouldn't use the Arduino Xiao, I would use the Cutie Pie, which is the same thing. It's a SAMD21 chip. It may have a different pin layout or whatever, but it's you know, all GPIOs on one side, and you know, 5-volt ground 3v3 and GPIOs on the other side, and the, you know, the SPI and I2C chips are all good, but the nice thing about this one is it has a quick port. So you can, what I would do is I would add the IO expander, and like whatever my matrices are would just be IO expanders, and then I would plug them into the quick port. So you wouldn't even need to solder this, basically. You just plug it right in there. Yeah, wired split, but wired split is happening. Like, it's, I think it is functioning in, someone has it functioning in on a experimental board. Yeah, you should be able to use a Xiao for a corn half. I mean, the Xiao, the Hummingbird keyboard is a unibody split that uses a Xiao and no IO expander or anything like that. So it has some very interesting wiring because the keys on the board do not map nicely to the matrix. Like, I don't think it's a 4x3. I think it's like, it's I don't know. I haven't actually looked at the schematic, but I know that there's not enough pins to just do a straight like 10x4 matrix. Yeah, QT Pi PY. And that's from Adafruit. And they also have a version of this that has the RP2040 chip, which is right here. But this one has chips on the bottom. It's got a different footprint on the bottom. So if you have, well, I guess this has a different footprint than the Arduino as well. But it's different. It's also running the 2040 chip, which ZMK doesn't currently support, although apparently that is in testing as well. See, I think part of the appeal of the Hummingbird keyboard is that it has a Arduino Xiao for a controller. And runs ZMK. Like, I could have easily used a Pro Micro for this, but I had these, and I want to play around with it, so. Oh, I'm like, wait a minute. Ground isn't wired up. Because it's not. I was about to put this into there and close it up. So that I want it to flip this way. So I want this to go on the bottom here. I'm going to leave a little extra slack on this because I may end up having to move it to one of the positive lines. And I want to just be able to cut it and move it instead of have to try to desolder it and move it. So I'm just going to give it a little extra wire. I mean, I guess I could always just replace the whole wire too, but whatever. This works. Yeah, I know. There's a lot. I was looking at the spec sheet for it the other day because I was trying to figure out the firmware for this, and it's like, you know, the Pro Micros and Pro Micro Bro equivalent footprint controllers all have, well, I guess not the Pro Micro because it doesn't run ZMK, but they all have mappings for the, like, the underlying GPIO thing to the, you know, this the Pro Micro A1 pin and stuff like that to the actual, like, footprint mapping. But they don't have that for the Xiao, so I was looking that up. And yeah, there's tons of stuff on this. But it's $4. It runs ZMK. Really what I want is one of these. I would love a SAMD that's a Pro Micro footprint. I would love that, because what I've been wanting is a cheaper alternative to the nice Nano for wired splits that can run ZMK, because I want to move to ZMK for everything. Yeah, let me get the hot glue. All right, I can't find the hot glue gun. Blue tape it is. This will actually work better in some ways. Because I can get off there more easily. And there we have it. Like I said, I don't have the heat sets and the screws for this yet, so can't fully assemble it, which is one reason I'm not too concerned about the fact that I'm building this right now without the hot glue. But do they? Ben, if you can find... Oh, okay. Yeah, see, that's the other thing I want, is I want $5. I want it to be no more expensive than a Pro Micro. And if you can make a shell for $5, you should be able to make a Pro Micro footprint for $5. Like, I don't see why that wouldn't be possible. So we've got our little dog. We've got our Slender Man. We've got our cat. Little target thing. Little starburst. A little dude with a long nose. A butterfly. And a little tree. And there's the banana macropad. I'm really excited that this is a thing that I have that exists. No, because the Pro Micro footprint is a little different than just a shortened, or rather, the Cutie Pie footprint is a little different than a shortened Pro Micro footprint. For one, there's only one ground on the Cutie Pie footprint, not three. There are two VCC lines, or there's at least a 5-volt line and a 3V3 line. There's all sorts of stuff that, yeah, this is definitely going to be a display piece kind of thing. Yeah, I thought about sharpening up the stem. We'll see. The stem and the butt down here. Yeah, it's good fun. That's a banana. And speaking of bananas, I'm not going to get a banana, but I'm going to get something that is just as good. And that's my iPad. So you might be wondering to yourself, what does an iPad have to do with a banana? And the answer to that question is nothing. A hobby of mine is really bad segues. So I'll be like, speaking of chicken McNuggets, have you heard about the thing with something that's totally not even remotely related? So one of the things I've been doing lately is I've been trying to get down to where I use my iPad as my daily driver for computing things, for surfing the web, or anything I would use a laptop for in the past, up to and including using a text editor to write software, like to work on ZMK or whatever. There are definitely some limitations there. Even with ZMK, with being able to drag firmware over USB as like a file system, doesn't work on the iPad for some reason. iPad, you can plug a thumb drive into, it works just fine. The bootloaders that at least come with a nice Nano, that doesn't work. I don't know why. Haven't figured it out, and I imagine it is some sort of limitation in the fact that the implementation of that is minimal. And so it's like, we're gonna make it so it works, but it's not gonna be like compliant with anything. And then nobody ever tested it on the iPad, so it doesn't work. And it's really hard, I imagine, to figure out why, because the iPad doesn't really give you the ability to dig into the low levels of, well, why didn't it mount my file system? Which is kind of frustrating. Call the genius part. Yeah, so I've been using my laptop a lot less lately. Been using a desktop computer. I say a lot less lately, but now that I've moved my desk down here and I've got all this other stuff going on, and I'm like doing stuff that I can only do on a computer, and I have my Cornelius keyboard, I've been using my desktop a lot, but I'm still trying really hard to get to a place where my iPad is my entire daily driver. One thing though that I miss, and this goes for using with a laptop as well, but one thing that I miss is sitting on the couch with a laptop and like watching TV and chatting on Discord or whatever. I do that on my phone a lot, but like if I'm doing longer form writing, or I want to write some code, or I want to whatever, I want a keyboard, I want to actually a usable experience. And the iPad, I have a nice folding stand. Oops. Speaking of Cornelius, oh no, you can use the thumb drive with an iPad. Works just fine. So it's got a built-in stand. I say built-in. It's got, the case has a built-in stand. This is official Apple case. This is not the Magic keyboard case that has the like floating thing, because that keyboard is terrible. Why would I use that? But one, like, it's hard to sit this on my lap because it's already a little wobbly. Like, it doesn't take much to knock it completely backward. So like having it sit on my uneven lap on my legs would be weird, especially if I want to move around or it's a little cockeyed or something like that. But then also, what do I do with my keyboard? So I have a corne here, let's just say, for example. Foreshadowing. So I have a corne, for example. This sits on my lap, but it's like, it's like sliding off or whatever. It's like weird angles. It's just not ideal. So if you were watching Saturday, someone mentioned, you probably already know what I'm about to show you. Someone mentioned, I think it was Kaz actually mentioned, hey, there is a case, or I thought it was just a stand. I don't know. We were talking about lap stands for keyboards. Anyways, corne. keyboard case. Sorry, that was a lot of build up for not a lot of payoff. With a tablet stand. Now, I didn't measure it before before I printed it, and now I'm thinking I should have, because the iPad doesn't fit in there with the case on, but it does fit in there with the case off. And now, it's kind of like, almost like having a laptop again. One cool thing about this, these little bumps in here, these little things in the middle, they're hard to see. I couldn't quite, I didn't know what those were for. They're zip tie locations. So you can have, let's say, let's just take this cable, plug it into here. And then you can zip tie it to the plate here, wrap it around. There's zip tie spots on the back, so you can tie it up to the back of here. You can tie up any excess and just have it so there's this little dongle hanging out that you plug into the side of the iPad. Obviously this one doesn't work because it's the iPad uses a USB-C port, but you can have it all nicely integrated and then just drop the iPad in when you want to use it and plug it in. There's also, like, you can stash a battery back here if you wanted to and have it all plugged in, or a USB hub or whatever. And then the corne sits in here, but it also has holes, like you can see one right here, for mounting the keyboard itself to the case. So it makes it basically the bottom half of the corne case. So it turns it into like a little stand and stuff. And this is cool. This thing, whew. And now I'm kind of regretting, or really regretting, not measuring for it, because with the iPad case, it doesn't fit in there. But this took 15 hours to print. So to have to do that again to get an extra millimeter or so of space in here is sucks, but it's probably not going to happen, to be honest. This is probably going to end up being just a display piece, but I do want to try it in my lap to see if it works, because if it really works, I'll print it again. Sure, why not? And this will be a display piece, or I'll sell it or something, because this is awesome. I didn't design this. I want to put that out there. This was designed by, let me see, who was it designed by? Well, there's a link down in the comment, or down in the description, to the actual Thingiverse for this, but it was designed by A8KSH4. So 8 cache 4, something like that. Yeah, it just barely fit on the bed. Like it's big. I've got a couple of pictures from it before I went to bed. So if you look in the general on my Discord, there's a picture of it on the bed. Like it's taken up the whole damn thing. Yeah, I think having some weight would help, but I think that's not too difficult to do, because these standoffs here for the PCB are tall enough that you could probably put some heavy something or other in here. Or I think I saw somebody else mention it, just tape or glue a piece of metal to the bottom, something to hold it in place. One thing this really showed me is the imperfections in my printer. I don't really know how to fix those, but I will. I'll work on them. I'm really happy with how well it printed. I think it's really cool. This, like I said, it's also missing, I said it's missing heat sets, but it might not actually need heat sets. I might just need some really short, fat, flathead, or screws to push in there and just have it cap itself. And there's, you know, screw holes in all the normal corn mounting places. And even one over here for stability that isn't where a screw hole is, but it just adds a little extra padding. So yeah, I'm really excited about this thing. And like, this board doesn't have a case, and I'm totally fine with it not having a case. But the fact that I can just kind of drop it in here and use this as a case for it, I think this is a perfect home. I think this is a perfect resting location for this keyboard. So I do want to get this in here. Since it's going to be wired, I may even put OLEDs on it at some point, but I doubt it. Because I just don't know what to put on OLEDs. They don't appeal to me that much. So, yeah. This thing is really cool. Thank you, Kaz, for... Well... So I have a glass, well, it's not a glass bed, but it's a texturized bed. But it's less about having clean bottoms and more about things that either it's just a thin plate, or, as you'll see in a moment, where the bottom is the top. And I want that first layer is a finished layer and needs to be, you know, needs to look good. But then you can use different textures and stuff like that. I'm still dialing in my printer. Like I said, I'm amazed this turned out at all, especially as well as it did. So yeah, this thing, 15 hours print, and that was on like the coarsest line settings I could get, or layer heights that I could get. So yeah. So that's super exciting. And now, onto the main event. If I can get this detached from the printer bed, I'll be right back. The best keyboard, the last keyboard that will ever need to be designed. Right here. You're looking at history, folks. Yes, that was all one print. Ooh. These fit nicely in here. Whoops. Nah, whatever. Oh, I'm gonna break this trying to put one of these in, I bet. That would be too perfect. Ah. So obviously I'm gonna have to do a little bit of tweaking with the bed and the print settings and stuff, because you can see all these lines here. So this is still just a prototype. It's not a production sample. You know, like, it's if you really want this one that bad, I guess I could probably part with it, but you know, This isn't quite ready to put my name on just yet. But the layout is perfect. Like, there's absolutely no... And yes, Ben, that is exactly why I printed it, because it was like, okay, this was my first attempt. This was my first attempt. And it went as well as you could have expected. I would say they almost snap in a little too well. These are going to be a pain to get out. But yeah. And you know what, actually? That's not horrible, maybe? I don't know, let's get some other caps on there. See what we got. Oh yeah. Gotta draw attention to itself, you know? Well, and since we have so much space between the caps, I kind of want to put like 4 U's on some of these. Oh wait, here we go, here we go. No, that didn't work. We can't just all have all one set. We've got to mix and match here. And we need a homing key. And let's throw an F5 in for good measure. And what else am I going to do with all these extraneous caps that I don't need? See, those don't look different enough. Let's see. Nah, I want to stick with ones because I do want to try this to see just how awful it is, and 1.5 will let me cheat too much. Now, if I could push the switches in without breaking it. I am not worried about putting caps on. What's this? We're even going with different profiles here. I think these are cherry profile caps. Oh, wow. Whoops. Well, I do have an army of MX switches, but I also have an army of MX caps. Mostly from KBD fans because they have reasonably priced sets. And they have XDA, NP, and DSA for pretty cheap. Because I want fun stuff, not like super serious. Oh my god, I didn't realize I had full sets left. So here, got a little throwing star. Nunchucks. I mean, I do have an army of switches too. Mostly box jades at this point. Whoops. I mean, KBD fans, like, I feel like if you're not buying 3 sets at a time, you're just wasting money on shipping. Well, because I forgot I had full sets. So I was like, man, I need to get some full sets. And I saw the cheapy ones on Amazon, and I was like, I gotta have them. Wow. Okay, so that's what, 4 or 5 full sets I have? Now I do feel bad. You know what I should have done? Instead of doing all this stuff, I should have just taken one of those crappy sets that I bought and put them on this. Because these are too nice to put on there. So these were some very high quality, I'm sure, double shot PBT cherry profile. I think they were cherry profile. Shine through caps that I got from Amazon. $17. I'm sure the quality is great. You can hear how good they are. Okay, all right. Here goes the typing test. Okay, I gotta find. The pinky is so far away. Look at that. Look at that. That's just ridiculous. I mean, this column feels fine. The middle finger placement feels great. Oh, space is so far away because it's way over here. I definitely screwed up completely on the thumb alignment compared to the thing. So let's see if I can pull up the... So my source was from ErgoPad. So this is what it's supposed to look like, kind of. Well, it's all, the thumb is all screwed up now. Let me find the actual Discord. I posted a screenshot on Discord. Okay. So this is what it's supposed to look like. This is how I did it on ErgoPad on Saturday, for those of you who weren't here. And this is how it ended up. So as you can see, it's pretty close. Like, I really wish I could print this and just lay the piece of paper over the top of it, because I think that'd be hilarious to see. I mean, the angles are definitely correct. This could be tighter. This needs to be a lot tighter. This needs to be a lot tighter. And this is like way too far. And the thumb is just wrong. Like, I didn't even bring that in at all. But this was my first stab at designing a keyboard. And yeah, like putting my hand on this, even if I stretch, like, I almost want my pinky to be here. Like, I want these, the pinky should be right around where my ring finger is, or where the ring column is. Whoops. What is this? Oh, a picture I took the other day downtown. Because I parked somewhere and there wasn't a parking kitty code on the sign, so I'm like, how do I pay for parking? So I took a picture of it just in case I got a ticket so I could contest it. But yeah, that's my sad keyboard. Oh my. And of course, banana for scale, so you have an idea of how big it is. Yeah. So the case that I made here, this was just taken from, so I built the keyboard, or I laid out the caps, laid out the keys in Keyboard Layout Editor. That's why this is one of the reasons why this is so messed up, is because I couldn't go from ErgoPad directly to Keyboard Layout Editor. So I was kind of eyeballing it. I did have ability to measure the angles. So these angles are actually mostly correct, I think. Like relative to each other anyways. But the distances are all terrible. And of course, ErgoPad itself, I think, has some problems in the sense of, like, you can only tap one finger on the screen at a time. So you're like holding up the other fingers, and it's just not the same. I don't think it works as well. I think what I'm going to end up doing is taking like the A.Dux, which has some finger splay in there, moving the pinky column up so it's more in a position where I'm used to it being, printing that, and then iterating from there to get the splay correct instead of trying to do it completely from scratch, because if you do it completely from scratch, you can see what this is. But go from keyboard layout editor, after putting all the stuff into keyboard layout editor, into software, in the thing, pretty sure I left the description, but it's I don't know, I showed it on Saturday, but it's software that basically takes the KLE, converts that to a couple of different case files. So there's a plate, there's a case, and a bottom plate or something like that, that is in OpenSCAD. So it's a OpenSCAD script that is this case. And then I exported that to STL, sliced that to G-code, and printed it. So that's how this came to be, that multi-step process. And the big missing piece there was going from ErgoPad to keyboard layout editor, or to the generator for the OpenSCAD, one of the two. So that's one of the reasons it's messed up. There's obviously many other reasons why it is the way it is, but this was my first attempt. I'm proud of it. And yes, to answer your question, Ben, how hard would it be to stick amoeba or whatever under the switches? That is literally the plan. So my goal here, and I don't want to snap the columns, or I do, but only in threes. Oh shit, well, screwed that right up. So imagine there are 3 of these in a column. I want to flip this, put it on here. It's got hot swap support, it's got diode support, all that stuff. I want to basically wire this all up with hot swaps, and I'm gonna use this as a template because it's already built. So while the next iteration of this is printing, I can be putting this together. Wire this all up. It'll be wired up to more than likely a corne layout, in terms of pin mapping and stuff like that. That way I don't have to do anything firmware wise or anything to just plot. Like, I already have corne firmware built, so I would just have to plop that on here and go with it. But wire it up, and then that way I can take the basically the keyboard part out of the case. Now I'm gonna leave, maybe change the caps out a little bit, but I am gonna leave the switches in here because I just want this to be like so you can actually put your hands on it and try to type on it and be like, why would you do this? And I'll be like, because it was hilarious. Oh yeah, Aho Corey for scale. But I want to put this on here so then I can pull this out and stick it in the next iteration of the design. You know, maybe if there's not a thumb key for it, there'll just be a little bit hanging out, or I'll have to snap it off or cut it off or something like that. But the idea being I can transport the guts of the keyboard to a different build, and then just iterate using the printer to print multiple different layouts. And then once I settle on one, then I'll go and build a PCB for it, and hopefully have a lot of that stuff generated for me if it's through KLE or through ergogen or something like that, so that all I have to really do is put in the extra bits and wire it all up like in KiCad, do all the routing and stuff like that. So that's kind of the idea. And this was the first iteration of me attempting to do this. I am in no way ashamed or embarrassed or anything about this. I think this is hilarious. I think it was a huge success, because it got me hands-on with all of the tools needed to do that A to B or A to Z process for me. Proof of concept, basically. Like, it's not in any way actually usable. This is like if you just said, So you take a look at your hand. Now design a thing where each of your fingers can hit 3 different keys. They're all in a straight line. And then your pointer has 2 of those. And then tell those requirements to a person. And have them describe where to put the pieces to a blind person. And then take that sketch and print it. That's basically what this is. So it's just good old fun. I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, I don't really feel like trying to wire this up today. I have some other stuff I need to do. I've got a build for someone that I'm working on, the person with the coffee. Or I say I'm working on that I need to do. It's not like a long process. And I want to try to get the banana firmware working. But I don't want to do either of those things right now. So I think I'm going to call it a little short today. Wednesday, maybe I'll have the firmware ready for that. Wednesday, I'm gonna hand wire this. I'm gonna hand wire the Abomination. And I say hand wire, it's not gonna be hand wire like this or like the banana. Like it's gonna be with the PCBs, and it's gonna have little jumpers going through between each one. In fact, like on fingers that are adjacent, those little connectors here actually are wired, so I don't even need to wire the columns if I leave the pieces attached. That's one of the reasons to leave the pieces attached. I just happen to screw it up. I also need to figure out if the corne thumbs are wired as is it a 3x10 keyboard, or is it a 3x14 keyboard, or a 4x12? Because that'll make a difference on how I wire it. Like, is this a column, or is that, are the two halves like a half row? And that I just need to look in the schematic for the corne to see. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm still kind of debating if I'm gonna go 2 or 3 thumbs, but definitely 5 columns. Because I'm down to 34 keys, straight up. 34 key on my Cornelius, like it's nothing. I love it. It's fine. I've got my combos for things. So, yeah. Anyways, that's it for today. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for your support with the banana, and also thanks for humoring me on this thing, because this was fun this is fun to just have. Like, it's so funny. I can just be like, yep, that's my first attempt. It went as well as you would have expected. So, but it did go. It did happen. Anyways, see y'all later. Have a great day. Have a great Labor Day. Eat a bunch of good food. It is the end of barbecue season now in the US. So, yeah. See y'all later.